Okay, so for this unit, we're focused on probability. Now, I don't want that to be intimidating to anyone, but probability, think about it basically as fractions. What probability basically is, though, is the likelihood of an event to happen, or the likelihood of something happening. All right, so an experiment is an activity involving chance in which results are observed. Each observation of an experiment is called a trial, and each result of that trial is called an outcome. Now, if we have one or more outcomes, that set of outcomes is called an event. So, how we usually write probability is this way. So the probability of blank happening is going to be equal to something. All right, and I'll explain that a little bit more in the next build. So, probability is the likelihood of something to happen. How we usually measure this is with this number line going from 0 to 1. As you could observe, I have a fraction, a decimal, and a percent here. So it'll be a lot easier to understand this if you know how to convert between fractions, decimals, and percents. So if something has a probability of 0, that means that it is impossible to happen. There's a 0% chance of that thing happening. So I would say like when it's summer in Houston, right? The probability of it snowing is 0. Okay, so in Houston, P snow in the summer is going to be equal to 0. So that means it's impossible. That's not going to happen. All right, it is unlikely that that's going to. Well, not unlikely. It is impossible that that's going to happen. Okay. Now, on the contrary, if I say that if a weather station says that it's going to rain tomorrow, and there is 100% chance it's going to rain tomorrow, then P rain is going to be equal to 1. All right, that means it has an 100% chance of happening. Now, in between here, we have unlikely, which is in between 0 and a half, and then we have as likely as not, which is basically saying it's equally unlikely and equally likely. We have likely, that ranges from 1/2 to 1, and then we have certain. Certain means that it's going to happen for sure. Okay, so think about this number line as we go through this entire unit. Now, let's actually do a couple of examples. We're going to tell whether each event is impossible, unlikely, as likely as not, likely, or it's certain to happen. All right, so you roll a 6-sided number cube, and the number is 1 or greater. Now, if we take a 6-sided number cube, what are the values there? It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So, what is the possibility that I will roll a number that is 1 or greater? So, which numbers do I have here that's 1 or greater? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So, 6 out of 6 of the numbers is 1 or greater. So, what would be my probability? My probability would be 1. So it is certain to happen. It's certain to happen because my probability of 1 or greater is going to be equal to 1. Okay? Now, let's move on to the next thing. You roll 2 number cubes, and the sum of the numbers is 3. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's my first number cube. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's my second number cube. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at sums. So, the lowest number I could possibly get for sums is 1 plus 1, which is 2. The highest number I could possibly get is 6 plus 6, which is 12. So everything that lies in between are all of the other possible outcomes. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. Okay? So I need to get a sum of 3. So how likely is that going to happen? As you can see, it's 1 out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. It's 1 out of 11. So this means that this event is unlikely to happen. The probability is close to 0 here. It's unlikely to happen. The probability is close to 0. So I'm just going to put unlikely. All right? I'm not going to put impossible because even though it is low, there's still a possible chance here. Okay? Now, our next one. A bowl contains discs marked with the numbers 1 through 10. You close your eyes and select the disk at random. Then you pick an odd number. So let's take a look at these numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So which ones are odd numbers? That's 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's going to be 5 out of 10, which simplifies to 1/2. So I could say that this event over here is as likely as not to happen because the probability is going to be equal to 1/2. So I'm going to put as likely as not. All right, so P equals 1/2 in this situation here. Okay? Now, let's go on to our final situation, D. A spinner has 8 equal sections marked 0 through 7. You spin and land on a prime number. So once again, let me list all my possible outcomes. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So which one of these numbers are odd numbers? Are prime numbers. 1 is a prime number. 3 is a prime number. Right? 5 is a prime number. And 7 is a prime number. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4 out of 8, which is going to be equal to 1/2. So I could once again say this is as likely as not to happen. So P once again will be equal to 1/2 in this situation. All right. Now let's move on to another example. Let's say that let me move this up here. Let's say that the probability of event A is 1/3 and the probability of event B is 1/4. Now I'm not talking about event A up here and event B here. I'm just creating a random scenario. What can you conclude about the two events? So I see better sometimes when it's a decimal, so it's going to be 0.33 repeated, and then this event B is going to be 0.25. Now, what can I tell from this? I can conclude for sure that event A is more likely to happen than event B. Now, why is that? Because the value of 1/3 is closer to 1 than the value of 1/4. I could also conclude that both of these events are unlikely going to happen. All right? The reason why is because they're both below half, and anything below half but above 0 is going to be unlikely to happen. So those are the two main conclusions that I could draw just from the probability of these events. Okay? Now let's go over one more example. A hat contains pieces of paper marked with the numbers 1 through 8. Tell whether picking an even number is impossible, unlikely, as likely as not, likely, or certain. Tell whether the probability is 0, close to 0, 1/2, close to 1, or 1. Okay, so what I'm looking for here is the probability of even numbers. So 2 is an even number, 4 is an even number, 6 is an even number, and 8 is an even number. So out of all 8 numbers that I have, I know 4 of them are even. So it's going to be 4/8. I'm going to go ahead and simplify that to 1/2, so I could say that the probability of this event happening is going to be as likely as not. All right? And that's how we describe events through probability.